so time. So I had to create it. So apparently he had designed the dress digitally on the computer, and then I now had to create it, and it was just smack there in the middle. And you have so many foreigners coming in to see, touch, feel. It's an amazing feeling. If that means we're global. We have crossed the Atlantic, we've crossed the Pacific. People know of us.
And we're doing things right.
We are doing amazing things. And I think one of the highlights for me is also when you're on the plane, when you're traveling and you want to use the bathroom, when you take that walk down, when you're walking back, look at everybody's screen. More than half of the people on the plane are watching African content. So it shows me, and it actually showed me that they are really invested in what we are doing and they want to become a part of it. Avengers had to create a market scene in Nigeria. That's amazing. I'm watching Billions and I'm hearing, what was this season 2? And they're talking about Nigeria. Though it wasn't a good thing, it had to be a fraud though. But then, it's Nigeria. And right now, apart from the economy, I'm actually very proud to be a Nigerian abroad. Because there's a different kind of reception. Like, when you say you're a Nigerian, like, oh my God, you're Nigerian. It's amazing. I went for Essence Festival. Oh, you're Nigerian. They see our movies. Call all the movies. Blood Sisters, Wedding Party, call all of them. They all see them. So it's such an honor to have had that opportunity to be at the Smithsonian and represent the country and just have people want to interact, want to know more because they're asking questions and you have to answer. And just having that book, it's a timeless piece. It's a timeless piece because Nollywood is the foundation of so many things. It's giving so many people jobs. I didn't study costume design in university. I studied chemical engineering, but hey, I'm here.
I'm still mixing outfits, don't worry.
Yeah. So, and I've spent a long time to really understand the industry. I'm 20 years in the industry officially next year. Unofficially about 28 or 20 or about 30. I'm a bit old, so
well, that's like twice my age, but okay.
Yeah.
Don't try to guess.
We started really young from like World of Children and Storyland, all of those shows. So it's been a really, really great opportunity to have experienced all of that. So it makes me feel proud and it makes me feel like we're going somewhere. We are going somewhere. What was the first question?
So now, okay, good. So this exposure and all of these experiences, how have you been able to adapt, the exposure to now creating your content even going forward? All the awards, the recognitions, the platforms, and just the pride that you feel. So how have all of these things shaped your content creation going forward?
With content creation or storytelling, number one is that as filmmakers, we have to be truth sayers. We have to tell the truth at all times. I know one of the questions I'm being asked most of the time is this whole authentic African story. Everything is an authentic African story. You don't have to tie a wrapper and put leaves on your waist before you're telling an African story. So we're Nigerians, anything that happens in your house, that's a story. So be it modern, be it epic, it's just the version of how you want to tell it. So having experienced all of that, it's amazing because I feel there's so much power in helping a cast become a character. I work with so many people and then they embody. So you asked Scarlett a question like about being Wura. The reason why people will call her Wura, she embodied the character. There are a whole lot of shows that are named by the lead actor. If you do not embody and become, you're forgettable. So when you embody and you become, you are that. You're the name, you're the Wura and all of that. So in creating those costumes, it takes a lot. It takes a lot, and then you want your next work better than the last one. So it's a lot. It's a huge responsibility because if I'm not able to craft in the best way possible, that actor is still going to be whatever his or her name is. But when you're able to craft and they put on that costume and they wear it and they feel it, it's amazing. And we can all attest to this by just seeing what America did with Black Panther. And everybody thinks there's a country called Wakanda. There's nowhere called Wakanda. But if you go over, they're like, oh, you're from Wakanda. No, I'm Nigerian, actually. So that's what being African and telling those stories have been able to help us do. So being a part of the journey, being a part of the industry, putting my own 1-2 cents here and there, I think it's been It's been amazing. It's been amazing. There's so much work to do. There's so much work to do. So I think what's next is pouring to the next generation and trying to empower the next set of people to understand that it's a continuous process. And at some point, we're going to hand over the baton to the next person and say, okay, you two can do it. You two can tell these stories the best way possible.
Great, thank you. Please give Yolanda a round of applause. Thank you. And I think with the great example that we are even laying now, it's easier for the generation coming. I mean, except they don't want to take the good examples, but I'm sure they will because we're laying such a great foundation. So thank you, Showmax, for doing that. Thank you. So I'm coming back to you, Sheyi. At some point, if we have time, we will take a few questions from the audience, if we have any. But let me go to Sheyi quickly. So Sheyi, you've worked on both, Nigerian and international sets. What would you say, or what do you consider as the biggest challenge for African filmmakers? So I know Victor says Africa is not a country, and yes, I know. But African filmmakers, I'm sure you've worked with other African filmmakers, but working in Nigeria, working globally with international sets, what do you think, or what do you consider the biggest challenge for African filmmakers?
That is such a very broad question. I'll try to answer it as best as I can. Working in North America and working in Nigeria, the biggest difference I would say is there's micro focus and specificity in working in America. There are lots of specialists doing specialist things. Like this, it's very kind of like micro targeted, The guy that brings the dog only brings the dog. You see what I'm saying? Like all this, and he's the dog wrangler. He just stays with the dog. You know what I mean? The guy that drives the truck can only move it like left or right. And in Nigeria, I don't mean to embarrass my friend Victor here, but when I look at Victor, I've been knowing him for many years. Like here is a man that is for him to sit on this table, if he were to tell you what it took to get here, how much level of being self-taught, coming from Benin, coming out Lagos, trying to sell a script, and now he's head of production at Showmax. Like that kind of ingenuity that I'm saying in him is exactly what Nigeria is as a film industry. Because there's lots of people who are multidisciplinary who just have this drive to just make something of themselves. So we don't have the kind of added flexibility of being specialists here on movie sets, that we have to do multiple things in order to make it work. And I think we should really lean into that and embrace it and not kind of see it as like they do it in that way and that's the way it should be done. I think we should revel in that. We have the capacity to do this thing and not even flutter at it as like, there's any kind of thing about it. Is what makes us dynamic in that sense, that because we just get things done. Multiple people in this room who have made films on micro budgets or on Canon 5Ds, whatever the case is, will tell you that sometimes the script supervisor is the assistant director. And when she's done saying cut, she goes to call the caterer and be like, where's the food and where's the water and all this kind of stuff, right? Like in America, that really doesn't kind of happen, but I'm sure maybe it does in maybe like indie sets. But when I was working over there, it was on kind of like Hollywood sets and stuff like that. And that's kind of what you see. And I kind of really embrace that aspect of the Nigerian ethos of how we make movies, because it's by any means necessary. We have to get this done, and this has to get done. It has to get done right, and you figure out who gets the credit or who gets the blame, and we can fight about it later. But for right now, you're gonna be the AD, and then you're gonna do the post-production supervisor afterwards. And just where we are. That's what I'd say it is.
Okay, thank you. I think that also speaks to just getting sponsors, working with a large budget, because I'm sure that if our budget can accommodate it, we'll definitely try to get more people on board. But so that's definitely a challenge. Budget. So if you're here, you're an investor, you're a corporate, public sector, private sector, help us solve these challenges. Help us. Thank you. As we begin to wrap this up before I throw it open to the audience, I want to ask a question. Right, and as I'm thinking of this question, I'm also thinking of a recent story, but no names, I won't call any names. Chuka made mention of it, said it a bit, and then you see now. Scarlett also touched on it, talking about getting some international cast to come play Wura. A person might have done well, but won't do justice to it like we would have done it ourselves. So my question is, I would ask Wura, and then if Victor or Chuka or even Sheyi and Yolanda have anything to say, please feel free. As an actress, what's your take on Hollywood coming to tell our stories, as we've seen in recent times? The character of Okonkwo. Oh, I said I wasn't going to make mention of anything. But what's your take on that? Then the part B of that is what you think it means for our industry currently and on the long run. So this is for everyone. If you have any inputs at any point, please, before I throw it open to my audience.
Budget.
But
It's really tricky, right? I'm going to try and answer both questions in one, so that I can move on to the next person. So, I mean, them coming in is welcomed. Don't get me wrong, it is welcome, but how are they coming in is the question, right? If they want to come in with partnership, funding, grants, the knowledge that they have and all of that, we're open to it. But you cannot come in and tell our story like us. I will still say what I have been saying, right? It is original to us. It is our story. We lived these lives. We know how to go about it. It is in us. And I'm going to use, sorry I'm going this route, but I'm going to use the music industry as an example, right? Right now, Afrobeats is global, right? Every other country can try to make Afrobeats. You're welcome. You can try. But it ain't gonna be what Afrobeats should be. Why? Because we are the source. We are the roots. Afrobeats is Nigerian, right? So yes, they can work with us to get it to the quality where our stuff can, of which we're getting there, but our stuffs can, stand neck and neck with other quality, how the music can stand on the top 100 in the world and all of that. But when it comes to the originality, how the story is being told, the direction, the acting, it has to be us. I'm sorry, it has to be us. You cannot play a Nigerian better than a Nigerian. It makes no sense. It absolutely makes no sense. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Scarlett. I saw a meme this morning that says so this is Yoruba, it's Nikini. It says you can say it in different ways, with your eyes, with your nose, with your mouth, in different ways. It's just so Nigerian, like Nikini, like how do you explain that to someone else to tell? All right, so let me hear from Chuka.
Yeah, let me add to what Scarlett, I agree with you completely. No one can play us as well as we can. Unfortunately, I think we're at the phase where, and I think almost every industry goes through it, even the music industry went through it as well. We're at the phase where, it's unfortunate, but it is the phase where we almost have to make that sacrifice. They're not going to, and when I say they, it is the big budget studios who are going to sponsor this for it to be shown around the world. They have no inclination to want to sponsor that sort of project with unknown faces. The faces are known in Nigeria and in Africa. Yeah, so I feel like we're in that phase where these things kind of have to happen, where it then is our opportunity to almost piggyback on that and then use other stories to tell our own stories. But there has to be some, this is my opinion, and it might be unpopular or whatever, but it has to happen in our industry for more eyes to come to our industry, and then we can also tell our own stories down the line. It's unfortunate that, yes, it is, that very, very big story, with Okonkwo that, is one of the sacrifices. But again, what should happen is, I think maybe a thing to many of our writers, option your stories to Nigerian storytellers, start from there, and then again, yes, we will cross that hurdle where, to get the funding to make it international, to be shown around the world, right? It's just a simple A and B. Who are the faces on it? I don't know these faces. It has to be a Hollywood face. That's what is going to make me bring money to it. That's why this is happening. Yeah, but it is a sacrifice. It's almost like a sacrifice we have to make now for us to then tell our stories, more of our stories down the line. That's my take. It might be unpopular, but it's my take.
Thank you for your submission and your take. Let's hear from
So
Yolanda.
I'll add to Scarlett and to Chuka. It's also a question of rights. The truth is they're going to sell the rights to the highest bidder. You're earning dollars, I earn in naira. Who has more money? You're going to go to the person that earns dollars or pounds or yen. So they're going to sell, the family or whoever owns the right to the story is going to sell it to the highest bidder. So if you look at Doso Okonkwo, we all know Teens Fall Apart. We all read that book. It was necessary in literature in secondary schools for you to read that book. So it's a great story. We all know, if we had to cast now, right here as producers, we all know who will play Okonkwo, Amelise, and all these people. But it's Hollywood. They're going to have to sell their own faces first because they're thinking international before they now come here and do local. And I know a couple of us, we've had some rights of stories that have been told before, or like books. How have we also how have we shared those stories? How do we tell it? So there's also the quality, and I call it evolution. We have to evolve at every point. Your last project should not be better than the next one. So are you actually, when you get the funding they were talking about funding and grants, do you put all of that into the production? There's quality in all of these things. The same camera, we use very expensive cameras to shoot here. The cameras you use, if you have a stain on that shirt, they will see it. Let me use all the powder and all the bleach in the world. The camera will tell that it's a lie, there's a stain on the shirt. Same camera, how we using it? Do we go back and say, okay, let's be better? Do we go back to film school? Do we go back and, it's like a doctor. Doctors read every time because science is evolving every day. So we also have a lot of work to do on our part as filmmakers, cinematographers, makeup artists, all of these things. Because if we can invest in ourselves, a lot of them won't come here because the work will be so much. We should be looking at going outside to say, okay, I'm a costume designer, I want to work in a Marvel movie, but I have to have done work that is good enough for them to say, okay, yes, I can employ her. So the rights and also we as filmmakers getting better and evolving, then we can now start to tell the stories. Because if I was from the Achebe family, one random person would say, I want the rest for Teens Fall Apart, I'd be like, no, you're going to mess, that's my dad's legacy or that's my grandpa's legacy, you're going to mess it up. So we still have a lot of stories that are not Teens Fall Apart, a whole lot of them. We just need to tell them on a really great note and a really great scale, and they will come looking.
Thank you, Yolanda. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, excuse me. Just to buttress what she said, I mean, we have a lot of stories that are very original to us, not just in Nigeria, but in Africa as well. We all did literature at some point in school, I mean, I know all the Greek gods, and it's not because I want to know them. But because that's what I see from the other side, I can name them without even having to. But we have the equivalent of that as well in our country. We have stories that we have not even tapped from history and all of that. Anybody in the world can pick up a Nigerian book and go, oh, I love this story, I want to tell it. But what makes it original is us. Do you understand? The way we go about it and all of that. And it can only happen when we start telling our stories and putting it out there. We cannot try to give Hollywood back to Hollywood and try to finesse it. Yes, they watch it, but you can't tell their stories better than them. It won't attract them. What makes us stand out, what puts us on that global space, it's our stories, the difference in them looking at it like, oh, I've never seen this before, I've never experienced it before, I've never flown out of the country, I've never been to this country, I want to see what this country is like, I want to hear the stories, I want to relate to them. So yeah, sorry.
Thank you, Shay. You have the floor.
This is a very interesting question, and it's also something I think needs a little bit of nuance to really get to what we're really talking about. I've had the privilege 2 years ago to be in Toronto when Woman King was going to premiere, and my friend Jimmy Odukoya was in film. Now, Jimmy Odukoya, and he's my friend, and I can speak on this because it's the truth. He wasn't really regarded as an A-list actor here. As a matter of fact, he was rejected on Blood Sisters, and I don't want to put it there on anybody, but they didn't want him. So when we are here, we should speak honestly about this thing because it's a very triggering issue of stuff like that. But Jimmy was not considered worthy to be in Blood Sisters. But Hollywood said, that's him. Like, that's him. And as a matter of fact, to even elaborate more to those who may not know, the character of the name of the character was General Oke Aboa. Jimmy told them, there's no Yoruba man called Oke Aboa. That's why in the movie it's called General Obade, because they listened to him. Hollywood is going to do what Hollywood's going to do because, listen, man, there's money to be made. And as Scholar was saying with Afrobeats, look, if there's money to be made, they got more than you and they're going to make it. So there's no point in you tripping about it. What part of the chain do you belong in? What leverage do you have? Like, if you're not in the game to really be in the game, then what you on? And when I was there watching Woman King, and I said to myself, damn, I know this story. And that led to the story that got me to Showmax Kabiyesi is why I made Kabiyesi. You see what I'm saying? Like, we have to really focus on really being part of the ecosystem. They cannot remove us from this thing, that they need us. And in that way, you can have a collaboration. Other than that, we just spit in the wind and then next we're going to spit again. There's money to be made. So, like, listen, Idris Elba is going to bring weight. Look, this same Idris Elba that we all moaning about, he got a Nigerian author's movie made in Beast of No Nation because of him. So what we on about? He's West African. He's Ghanaian and Sierra Leonean. He's building a studio in Ghana and we're here beefing about that? We tripping. Why isn't Jimmy in more movies right now than ever before? We were never checking for PJ. We weren't checking for him here. But then he auditioned at Adeni Jones in Ikeja and got to South Africa, and now he's whipping Viola Davis' ass. And where were we to say, yeah, he's one of us, we made him? We were not here. We weren't here for him. And because of Woman King, I made Kabiyesi and I said, I'm going to make this so local that when you see this joint, you're going to be like, damn, I want a piece of this. And we have to really be serious about that. And me and Vika had this conversation back and forth because I see him smiling because he knows we talked about this. You see what I mean? So we really have to get serious being serious. And I'll leave you with this one final story. When I was in college, like, Steven Spielberg went to my college. And he was about to make this film, Catch Me If You Can. And the story goes like this. He was in Paris on his way back to LA, right? And was watching a show, but he didn't quite know who the actress was. And he was in prep for Catch Me If You Can. So he took the name of the movie down and gave it to his assistant and said, whoever this actress is, find her for me. And when I was in Soul House in LA, there are all these white guys that come here a lot. We're having dinner. And he said these words to me, and it pissed me off. It haunted me, but I couldn't say nothing to him. He said, Shay, what you guys have done in Nigeria is you've been able to create your own stars, but you haven't created talent. And I looked at this white dude who is a chairman of the board and shareholders in our industry in Nigeria. I looked at him and I was like, I can't say nothing to this dude. He said, you haven't created talent. You've created your own stars. So until we're speaking this universal language of like, man, you seen our Scarlet chick? She's fire. I want her. You see that Yolanda chick? Man, she's like June Ambrose on steroids in Nigeria. I want her. Yo, you see that Victor cat? Man, you want to head of production, man, you need this cat. Until we're speaking that language, we ain't ready.
I was going to say, Victor has to say something. He's been tapping since I know he has a lot to say. Victor, let's have it. Let's have it.
I don't know that I have a lot to say. I just want to say something real quick. Because I really don't know the answer to this question. Somebody help me out. What studio is making this Things Fall Apart? Sorry? A24, brilliant. A24, sorry, are they, is that a West African studio? No, so to borrow from Sheyi, they gonna do what they gonna do. But we are not gonna talk about Things Fall Apart and act like Pete Duce is not Okonkwo. I'm sorry. I think it's incredibly disrespectful for us to have the conversation and not talk about Peter Ducci. It's we've done it. We've done things fall apart. NTA did it. Peter Ducci is Okonkwo. Nkemowo was on that show. So was Chiwetalagu, so was a bunch of other people. Hi, we've done it. Okay? So support more local authors. Yes. How many Nigerian books have any of us read in the last 15 years? Support local authors. Yes. Support the local industry. Yeah. Because I'm not going to say we need to go out and work more with more people. Why are we on this panel? It's because we are making shows with every single person here is on a completely different show that we made and are releasing with, for, and by our people. But I just didn't want us talking about things fall apart and not pay respect to those who did it first, from Peter Ego to down, who got that thing made. And yes, most of us here were inspired by things fall apart to get in the business, right? So let's not go back, let's go forward.
Let's not go back, let's go forward. I think this has been such a fantastic panel, and I must thank MultiChoice for putting this together, especially on crafting local content for global success. Please give my very distinguished, amazing, accomplished, successful, wonderful panelists a round of applause. Thank you. I think we are definitely out of time, but we can take about 1 or 2 questions if there are any. We have one here in front, please. Thank you. And then we'll take one female. Is that a female? Perfect. All right.
Hello.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Andy. I just want to add to what he said. They are going to retell a story we have already told. Things Fall Apart has been told. They are doing a remake. So Peter Doche is Okonkwo. Let's see how they can better it.
I think Yolanda has also talked on how we must evolve. So I think even if we're going to retell it, it has to be. But that's why we're having this conversation anyway. So we're spotlighting the issues and what we must do better. We must spot our own talent and celebrate our talents. We must collaborate. We must be excellent, excellent, excellent. I think we'll take that question.
Hi. It's not necessarily a question. It's just to add to, I think, what most people are saying. As much as we would like Nigerian stories to be told by Nigerians, let's be honest. Okay, let's take, for example, India. The government of India actually sponsors a lot of films. Majority of Nigerians actually, it's their own money. Like, the government doesn't really do a lot of sponsorships, 1. And 2, I would not really knock like an Idris for taking this, because I can as well say African Americans have every right to be angry with David Oyelowo for playing Martin Luther King, or Cynthia Erivo for playing, what's the name of the lady out the underground town, because we have done it. So we can't really knock an African for playing an African role. I understand that we would really like a Nigerian to play it, but again, like Yolanda said, the people who bought the rights are the ones who are going to tell you who they want to put on it. Like, you can't, although I would have really liked a Chiwetel Ejiofor to like play a role, but again, he's not going to get it. That's just to add to it. It's like most of the things that are done in Nigeria are done by Nigerians outside of sponsorship from government or anything. So that also doesn't help.
Thank you. Thank you very much. One. Final. How many minutes do we have? Please let's keep it short.
Yes.
Question. Okay.
Hello, everyone. So I do have 2 angles to look at this, right? So the first one is, yes, Things Fall Apart have been told before, and we have Idris Elba playing like a major role. The first perspective is, if this story isn't told properly, won't it come back to bite us at the end of the day? Another one is, another perspective really is, shouldn't we see it as a thing of pride that we have we have Hollywood coming to tell our story because it has been told before? Shouldn't it be something of pride that we should be happy about? So those are just 2 perspectives I'm putting forward. I don't know.
Is that a question or is
looks,
that a suggestion?
No, you look like thing of pride. I wanted to.
Okay, so you talked about about Idris playing the character in the book. So any movie that is written from a book is an adaptation. So it might not be 100%, because when you read a book, everything is in your imagination. You start to imagine all of these things. So that's why when we watch have you read Game of Thrones, half of what you saw on screen doesn't match the book at all. Same with like the Ring of Power, all of those kind of books. So if it's an adaptation, what Nigerians are worried about is the intonation. The accent, is he going to sound like us? But don't forget that they also do their own homework, where they try to sound, but it will never be the way a Peter Duce is going to sound. It will never be the way a Chiwetel Agbo Nkemowo is going to sound. A typical example is Half of a Yellow Sun. We saw it happen with Chiwetel and what's her name? Tandy Newton. As much as they tried, it did not really work. But the moment O.C. Okeji comes on the screen, you hear that Nigerianness. You hear it. You can't take it away. So, like I said, the rights. So who has the money determines who is going to be in the film. We have so many talented actors and actresses in Nigeria, but there's this part where we'll talk about you being bankable. Because even everybody sitting in this audience, there are certain people you will see on a poster, you will not go and watch that film. We are so attached to certain faces, so we do not give the room to breed new talent. Scarlett has been acting for a minute. But why does everybody remember Wura? Because she gave a damn good performance. So that is where she is coming from, when he's like, you have to, the talent. So you have to, that craft has to just keep on going.
Thank you. My mic has been turned down. Looks like they're telling me, girl, you need to wrap up. Final. Who has the microphone? Very quick, sir. All right. We just act as a couple since you're together. One, just submit your question.
Hi, everyone. My name is Awande. I'm from South Africa. I think I really want to ask this question because I'm getting a bit of a mixed response. And I very much resonate with what you're saying about, no, we should tell our stories. It matters what we think. It matters that we keep our authenticity, because we're facing the same or similar kinds of things in South Africa, where we have a lot of African Americans coming to play Nelson Mandela, and we've had about 3 different Walking to Freedom movies. And I'm just like, why didn't you just get people that can speak Xhosa, Zulu properly, as opposed to hiring African Americans that are going to butcher the language and not have the level of authenticity that we have, because we've also got a lot of tribes in our country, right? So I guess because of how mixed everything is, my main question to the panel is, as an African storyteller, do we have to face or accept the fact that the West wants to westernize our stories in order to make it? Do we have to be willing to sell out a bit in order to make it on the global platform? Because I hear the authenticity chat and I agree with it, but to an extent it's like you only make it if you're willing to twist your accent to what they think it sounds like, or twist your aesthetic to what they think it should look like, or change things so that it's like, okay, no, but this is what we think Africa is. You know, so I'm asking an honest question because I feel like we're already there. Yeah, thank you.
All right, so I'm just going to give what I think and then pass the mic. I don't know about other regions, but right now in Nigeria, when you open your profile, there are lots of Korean movies there, right? They don't speak English. They don't. Either you read or you leave the film alone. It's either you want the originality, you really want to know about them, or you keep it moving and you go and learn about another culture. But we do have to, in some cases, compromise. In the sense that if you really want to reel people in, as much as you want them to know your culture and everything, you also have to tell stories that doesn't seem like it's make-believe to them. You want to touch global topics. You want to, okay, so I'm going to use Wura for an example. In Wura is very authentic, right? The story is very authentic, but we don't have a lot of roles that give women the lead, right? We don't have a lot of stories that, you see the women in the forefront, they still respect their husbands, but they're still killing it and then still handling business and they're the breadwinner and all of that. It doesn't really happen like that in the general African culture. A woman should be in the kitchens cooking while the husband goes to fend for food. Well, we're changing now, but yeah, that's the core value, right? But we had to do that with Bura because we have a lot of women like that here. Their stories have not just been told, right? So I feel like, yes, we should compromise a bit, but when it comes to the originality and its true sense and sense of the language, the costume, what it is what it is.
So I'll just add to that once we wrap up the panel. So there's also a development issue. So the reason why when they take it over there, it almost seems like it's better, it's just the accent that's the problem, is they don't shoot immediately. Sometimes these stories take like 3 years for them to develop it before they shoot. But we take that story, in 3 months, we're done. Let me give you a stupid, you're South African, you know Shaka. Beautiful. You know how long it took them to do it? I met the lady in South Africa, we had an installation, hers was here, mine was here. 5 years of research. They went to as far the land where it really happened. They went that far. They worked with about 3-4 historians. I was at the panel and I listened and I'm like, now that's an authentic African story that the Westerners cannot come and tell. The South Africans had to tell that by themselves because they said, we will tell the story. If it's going to take us 10 years, 20 years, we will tell it. And look at that story, isn't it beautiful? So that is what we now also have to do. But then it's not really our fault because funding is a problem. We don't have enough funding to say, okay, we want to do like 1 year of development, we want to do 2 years. But if we have that, I will tell you that we'll be able to take and own our stories and not have these people come over and say, we want to take your stories and tell it.
So just to wrap up real quick, just so we can do a little bit of focusing, how many of us actually watch and support local productions on your streaming apps? Because that's all you can do, because this whole conversation of why are we spending this much energy on they and not we, right? I'm just trying to redirect the energy, right? So that we leave here focusing on what we are going to do, not in response to anybody else, but in the interest of telling our own stories. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know, we can't take any further questions. We have run out of time. Please give them another round of applause. It has been such an honor steering this powerful, power-packed, essential and crucial conversation that we just had to have. Thank you very much. We'll take a group picture and then we will be off stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just stand for pictures, please.
Olúwo bí ire tó mi dé, òrìṣà wo bí ire sì mí lè. Wà bọ́ọ̀ bá tún fọwọ́ kan mọ́ mi, ara ni ó sọ pa oúnjẹ dúró sí o. Orí ló fi Ọ̀rúnmìlà tó fi dókè Ìgẹ́tì.
Thank you. Please, as they exit the stage, applause.
The next session starts immediately.
Orí mi sì mí lọ, òrìṣà sì mí rè. Ó bí ìjọba, wọ́n máa ń bí mi, obìnrin máa ń tó lé mi, wọ́n máa ń tọ́jú ọkọ. Kò ní ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀, ohun tó bá bá ṣe, àṣepé, ó kì í sọ́ba. Dẹ́rìn fẹ́, ọ̀rọ̀ ìjọba.